I've just shot another patient. I don't think there's any point in your seeing him. There are no more patients now, Doctor.
Oh, well, let's go for lunch then.
Imagine a doctor who visits you at home. He sits on your sofa, drinks tea from your best china, and holds your hand. You trust him with your life because, in your small town, he isn't just a doctor. He is a pillar of the community. A man who delivered your children and comforted your dying parents.
Here it comes. And frightening. Here.
But in the sleepy British town of Hyde, that trust was a weapon. Because when Dr. Harold Shipman opened his medical bag, he wasn't looking to cure you. He was looking to play God. We often fear the monsters hiding in the dark alleys. But history shows us that the most dangerous monsters are the ones we invite through the front door. This is the story of a man who killed not for money, not for anger, but for a reason that is far more terrifying. This is how one trusted doctor became the deadliest serial killer in modern history.
You may have noticed that my behavior as of late has been erratic and occasionally disturbing. I, Dr. Jekyll, decided that tonight it is time to reveal my secret to the world. Gentlemen, it is time you learnt of Mr. Hyde.
To understand how a man becomes a monster, we often look for a single traumatic fracture in their childhood. For Harold Frederick Shipman, that fracture happened at age 17. It was 1963, and his domineering mother, Vera, was in the final agonizing stages of lung cancer. Young Harold spent hours by her bedside, but he wasn't just watching her die, he was watching her find relief. He observed closely as the family doctor arrived, administered a dose of morphine, and watched his mother's pain dissolve into a peaceful, chemical bliss. In Harold's developing mind, the doctor wasn't just a healer. He was a master of reality, a figure who could walk into a room and instantly control the boundary between agony and peace, life and death. Vera passed away that year, but the lesson stuck. Shipman breezed through medical school, graduating in 1970. He was described by peers as arrogant, energetic, and socially awkward, traits that are common enough in high-pressure medical fields. But beneath the surface, the God complex was already taking root. In 1974, he joined a medical practice in Todmorden, Yorkshire. It seemed like the start of a promising career, but there were cracks in the facade. He began experiencing blackouts. His colleagues noticed erratic behavior. It turned out the young doctor was addicted to pethidine.
What are you doing?
Eating the red berries.
A powerful synthetic opioid. He wasn't just using it, he was forging prescriptions to get it. When he was caught, he was fined just 600 pounds, attended a brief rehab stint, and, in a decision that now seems incomprehensible, was allowed to keep his medical license. The system had caught him, slapped him on the wrist, and sent him back into the world. In 1977, he moved to Hyde, Greater Manchester, to start fresh. He was clean of the drugs, or so it seemed. But he had traded his addiction to narcotics for an addiction to something much darker, and he had found the perfect weapon to feed it.
I guess I could use a little social interaction.
Most serial killers are messy. They use violence, brute force, or weapons that leave forensic evidence. Shipman used chemistry. His weapon of choice was diamorphine. To the layman, this is known as medical-grade heroin. In the UK medical system, it is a standard, highly effective painkiller used for terminal cancer patients or acute myocardial infarctions, heart attacks. But to understand why 250 people died without a single scream, we need to look at what happens physiologically when a massive dose enters the bloodstream. A patient, usually an elderly woman living alone, sits in her armchair. Shipman tells her he needs to give her something for her joint pain or a blood sample. He injects a lethal dose of diamorphine intravenously. The drug crosses the blood-brain barrier almost instantly. It binds to the mu-opioid receptors in the brainstem, specifically the region that controls the body's autonomic respiratory drive. Essentially, the brain forgets to tell the lungs to breathe.
That's really bad.
There is no pain. There is no panic. The patient simply feels a wave of heavy warmth, their eyelids droop, and they drift into unconsciousness.
You murderer!
I didn't kill her, Zach. She died in her sleep.
As the oxygen saturation in their blood plummets, a condition known as hypoxia, their organs slowly shut down. Within minutes, they are dead. To a witness, it looks exactly like falling asleep. Or more conveniently for Shipman, it looks exactly like natural causes. He would often stay with the body, arranging them in a peaceful pose. He would sometimes even be the one to discover them or call the undertaker himself. He was the killer, the witness, and the coroner, all in one. And for 20 years, this clinical efficiency allowed him to operate in plain sight.
My methods are a little unorthodox, Mr. Griffin, and I think I can help.
What are you doing?
My job. Sometimes people fake being in a coma. This man's not.
By the early 1990s, Shipman wasn't just a general practitioner, he was the most popular doctor in Hyde. He had launched his own solo practice, boasting a patient list of over 3,000 people. His patients loved him because he was old school. He didn't rush you. He made house calls when other doctors wouldn't. But this solo practice gave him something else: total autonomy. There were no other partners to question his prescription rates. No colleagues to ask why his patients seemed to die in the afternoons.
Something's fishy.
Nothing is going on. Keep moving, please.
Usually shortly after a scheduled visit. The scale of what happened in that practice is difficult to visualize. Later investigations, known as the Shipman Inquiry, would confirm that he killed at least 215 people, though the real number is likely over 250. That is roughly one murder every month for 2 decades. He killed 171 women and 44 men. The youngest victim was a 41-year-old man. The oldest was a 93-year-old woman.
He never discriminated.
Anyone can get it, John.
I respect that. Okay.
He was killing with the frequency of an industrial process.
Don't get me started. My cousin killed everyone at his job.
Wait, what?
And yet, the town of Hyde saw nothing but a dedicated public servant. When a local undertaker jokingly mentioned that Shipman's patients seemed to be dropping like flies, nobody laughed. But they didn't investigate either. In 1998, another local doctor, Dr. Linda Reynolds, actually raised the alarm. She noticed the death rates in Shipman's district were astronomically higher than anywhere else. She contacted the coroner. The police conducted a covert investigation. They looked at his records, found them to be in order, and closed the case.
I do not have time for this tomfoolery!
Case closed.
Shipman had forged the medical notes to make the patients look sicker than they were. He had literally typed his way out of a murder investigation. This failure allowed him to kill 3 more people. The system was designed to trust doctors, not to police them. And Shipman knew exactly how to exploit that blind spot.
Nothing to see here, please. It's nothing to see here, please.
How does a man stack up 250 bodies without generating a mountain of red tape? The answer lies in a bureaucratic formality called Cremation Form B. In the UK, if a body is to be cremated, a second doctor must confirm the cause of death to ensure no foul play occurred. It sounds like a robust safety check. In reality, it was a rubber stamp exercise. Shipman would fill out Form A, stating natural causes, usually old age or heart failure. He would then pay a colleague from another practice a small cash fee to sign Form B. These doctors rarely examined the body thoroughly. They trusted Shipman. They saw an elderly patient, a respected colleague's diagnosis, and they signed the paper. Shipman effectively weaponized the medical community's own courtesy against them. But there was also a darker societal bias at play here. Most of his victims were elderly women. Society expects old people to die. When a healthy 80-year-old woman is found dead in her chair, we don't assume murder. We assume time ran out. Shipman hid his violence behind the veil of ageism. He stole their remaining years, 5, 10, maybe 20 years of life, and wrote it off as natural causes. He was an invisible predator because he preyed on the invisible population.
Old people.
Old people?
But eventually, his arrogance would outgrow his caution. After getting away with murder for 20 years, Harold Shipman made a mistake. He didn't slip up on the medicine. He slipped up on the money.
You familiar with that face?
I don't know. My memory ain't so great.
Oh, yeah? Maybe this will refresh your memory.
I don't know, it's still kind of hazy.
How about this?
Yeah, I remember him. I used to see him around. Why do you want to know?
I can't tell you that.
Well, maybe this'll help.
Kathleen Grundy was 81 years old. She was vibrant, wealthy, and the former mayoress of Hyde. On June 24th, 1998, Shipman visited her home. Hours later, she was dead. Shipman listed the cause of death as old age, despite her being in excellent health. But then, a will appeared. It was typed crudely on a typewriter. It left Kathleen Grundy's entire estate worth nearly £400,000 to her doctor, Harold Shipman.
Why would you go and do that?
Money, 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 money!
It explicitly cut out her children. The letter ended with a phrase that raised immediate red flags. I reward him for his care. Kathleen's daughter, Angela Woodruff, was not just a grieving child. She was a lawyer. She took one look at the document and knew it was a forgery. The grammar was wrong. The signature looked traced. The concept was absurd. Angela went to the police, and this time, they didn't just look at the records. They looked at the body. They exhumed Kathleen Grundy. The toxicology report came back with a finding that shattered the good doctor illusion forever. Her tissues were saturated with diamorphine. She hadn't died of old age. She had been overdosed with the equivalent of a massive heroin hit. Police raided Shipman's home. They found the typewriter used to forge the will. But more damningly, they seized his computer. Shipman thought he was clever. He had gone back and retroactively edited the medical records of his victims to create fake histories of heart disease. But he didn't understand computer forensics. Each edit had a digital timestamp. Police could see exactly when he fabricated the illnesses, often minutes after he had killed them. The good doctor was revealed to be a cold, calculating liar.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
The trial of Harold Shipman began in October 1999. He was charged with 15 counts of murder and 1 count of forgery. Throughout the proceedings, Shipman remained defiant. He was arrogant, dismissive, and refused to admit any guilt. He seemed genuinely baffled that anyone would question his medical judgment. On January 31st, 2000, the jury found him guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced him to life imprisonment with a recommendation that he never be released. But the families of his victims would never get the closure of a confession. They would never know why. Was it a God complex? Was he addicted to the thrill of death? Or was it a morbid curiosity that spiraled into a compulsion? We will never know. On January 13th, 2004, on the eve of his 58th birthday, Harold Shipman was found hanging in his prison cell. He took his own life, taking his secrets with him. In the wake of his crimes, the Shipman Inquiry audited his entire career. They identified 215 confirmed victims with a high probability of 250. The British medical system was overhauled. Single-handed practices were scrutinized, cremation forms were tightened, and the auditing of controlled drugs became draconian. Laws changed, but the scar on the public psyche remained. Harold Shipman broke the fundamental contract of civilization, the contract that says when we are weak, when we are sick, and when we are vulnerable, we can trust those in power to help us. He didn't just kill 250 people. He killed the innocence of an entire community. Today, if you walk through the streets of Hyde, life has returned to normal. But for the families who invited him in for tea, who thanked him for his kindness, and who let him hold their hands while he stopped their hearts,
Literally.
the betrayal will never fade. It serves as a dark reminder that evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it wears a stethoscope. If you like this video, there are more on this channel to dig into. Subscribe for notification of new videos. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed,